The man who walks away from the crowd never loses himself in it. Ascenders. Here's the truth most people can't handle. The world rarely bothers to understand you. It's quicker and easier to judge you, to pin you down with a shallow label and move on. They see you once, maybe twice, and decide you're predictable, easy to define, maybe even forgettable. And that's exactly why they never see it coming when you prove them wrong. Because while they're convinced they know your story, you're out there writing new chapters in places they never thought to look. The reversal doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow burn. They start noticing the small changes first, the subtle shifts in how you carry yourself, the precision in your words, the quiet confidence that wasn't there before. Then one day, the gap between who they thought you were and who you've become is so wide they can't ignore it. This is when judgment turns to curiosity, curiosity turns to fascination, and fascination sometimes turns into something deeper. Today, we're unpacking 8 rare, deliberate moves that create this transformation. They're not tricks, they're not gimmicks. They're a way of moving through the world that makes regret inevitable for those who underestimated you. If you're ready to step into that space, subscribe to Sigma Ascends. Because once you start this climb, there's no going back. When you vanish from their view, they imagine you've stalled, that you're stuck where they last saw you. The truth is, disappearance is a strategy most people don't have the discipline to use. In silence, you rebuild. You let the noise fade until it can't reach you. You pour your energy into skills, knowledge, and inner strength that no one is tracking because no one is watching. This is where the most dangerous transformations happen, away from the audience. The human brain works on reference points. It remembers you as you were the last time it saw you. So when you return in a completely different form, sharper, more capable, more composed, it forces a mental reset. They have to reconcile their outdated image with the reality in front of them, and that dissonance is magnetic. It doesn't just get their attention, it demands it. They'll replay moments in their head, wondering how they missed the signs, how they could have overlooked the progress. And the beauty of this move is that it compounds. Every time you vanish and return, the gap widens, the shock deepens, and their attachment grows. It's not about hiding from the world. It's about showing up so powerfully after your absence that your presence can't be ignored. That contrast is addictive to people, even if they never admit it out loud. Boundaries are one of the clearest signals of self-respect, but they're also one of the most misunderstood. At first, people will interpret your limited availability as arrogance or detachment. They'll think you're cold, hard to reach, maybe even unapproachable. That's because they're used to unlimited access, quick replies, instant attention, open schedules. You are the opposite. Your time is earned, not assumed. Over time, the truth sinks in. It's not distance, it's discipline. You protect your focus because you understand its value. You protect your mental space because you've seen how fast it can be polluted by the wrong influences. And when someone finally earns your attention, they notice the difference immediately. Your words carry weight. Your focus is undivided. The interaction feels intentional rather than habitual. This scarcity flips the dynamic. People begin to measure their interactions with you, to treat them like opportunities instead of routine exchanges. Some will work harder to be included in your world. Others will drift away because they can't handle not having unrestricted access. Either way, the decision is yours, and that choice is power. The more intentional you are with who gets your time, the more valuable that time becomes in their eyes. Mystery is not about being secretive for the sake of it. It's about controlling the flow of information, revealing just enough for people to think they understand you while keeping the full picture hidden. Humans are wired to be drawn to the unknown, but only when they believe the unknown has value. By showing only fragments, you create an ongoing puzzle they can't help but want to solve. Every unexpected reveal, a skill they didn't know you had, an insight they didn't expect you to share, forces them to adjust their mental image of you. And here's the important part. Each new layer doesn't just add to your perceived value, it retroactively increases the value of every layer they already knew. The moment they realize there's more to you than they thought, they start questioning how much more there might be. This dynamic creates emotional investment. They feel like they're earning each discovery, even if it's on your terms. That sense of progress keeps them engaged, keeps them coming back, keeps them wanting to peel back another layer. And the more layers they uncover, the deeper they fall. Because by then, they're not just curious, they're hooked. There's a shift that happens when the gravitational pull changes direction. In the early days, you might be the one reaching out, stepping into their world, adjusting to their pace. You adapt to their conversations. You meet them in their spaces. You match their rhythm. But as your personal value compounds, through skill, through discipline, through the quiet accumulation of results, something subtle begins. The polarity reverses. Without announcing it, without forcing it, they start moving toward you. They adjust their schedules to yours. They begin showing up in your orbit more than you ever step into theirs. They start paying closer attention to your actions, checking where you're heading, trying to align themselves with your direction. This isn't manipulation, it's physics. Influence has mass, and the more of it you build, the more the world bends toward you. The most fascinating part: many will convince themselves they're making the choice freely, never realizing your gravity has already shaped their path. Silence is one of the most underestimated forms of communication, but in the hands of someone who understands its weight, it becomes a weapon. Most people speak to fill space. They chase comfort in conversation, afraid of the pauses. You don't. You let words breathe. You allow silence to stretch just long enough for them to start hearing their own voices echo back. At first, it unsettles them. They might interpret it as disinterest or disengagement, but slowly, they start to realize something. When you do choose to speak, your words land differently. They're more deliberate, more precise, more impactful. They replay them later, wondering if they missed something between the lines. The absence of constant chatter makes your presence sharper. It forces people to lean in, to listen more closely, because they know you won't waste breath on the unnecessary. Over time, this changes the way they approach you entirely. They don't just want your attention, they want the moment when you decide to break the silence. There's a kind of delayed recognition that carries more impact than immediate validation. You plant seeds in the way you act, the way you move, the way you hold yourself in the face of challenge. People might overlook them at first, or even dismiss them entirely. They don't see the value because they're measuring by the wrong timeline. But seeds grow underground, unseen, until one day they break through the surface. That's when the late realization hits. The same person who doubted you is suddenly confronted with undeniable evidence, your results, your growth, your presence, and they're forced to reevaluate everything they thought they knew. This moment carries a unique weight because it comes with regret. They realize they could have understood you earlier, could have supported you, could have aligned with you when it would have mattered more. Instead, they ignored the signs. And now that they see the truth, it pulls them closer, even if they never say it outright. Regret is a powerful motivator, and in this case, it often turns critics into quiet followers. Patience is often mistaken for hesitation, but in truth, it's one of the most aggressive strategies you can use if you know how to control it. While others rush forward to prove themselves, burning through energy and revealing all their cards in the first round, you remain still. Not because you're passive, but because you're watching. You're reading the terrain, noting the movements, studying the patterns in silence. You let them think you're inactive. You let them believe you've missed the chance. And then, when the timing is perfect, you move with precision. You don't just act, you strike. And because you've waited, your action is amplified. It's sharper, more calculated, and often impossible to counter. This is how patience becomes predatory. It's not about waiting for something to happen, it's about making sure that when you do move, it's decisive enough to end the need for another move. The people who once saw you as hesitant suddenly see you as dangerous, in the best way. They understand that nothing about you is accidental, and that realization forces them to pay closer attention to every quiet moment you spend observing. They begin to respect your stillness as much as your motion, because now they know both are deliberate. There's a particular kind of tension created when someone who was once always present becomes rare. At first, your constant availability made you part of the background, reliable, predictable, maybe even taken for granted. They assumed you'd always be there because you always had been. But when you pull back, when you stop showing up as often, the absence hits harder than they expect. They notice the empty space you leave behind. Conversations feel different without you in them. The scarcity signal begins to work. Humans are wired to value what is rare, and your absence forces them to reassess your worth. When they finally do see you again, the interaction feels heightened, like an opportunity instead of a routine. They pay more attention. They listen more carefully. They treat the moment differently, because deep down, they know it might be a while before it comes again. This is the essence of controlled scarcity. You don't vanish completely, but you regulate your presence enough that each appearance carries weight. It's not about manipulation, it's about making sure that your value isn't diluted by overexposure. Over time, this changes their entire relationship to you. You are no longer just someone in their environment. You're an event in their calendar, a shift in their attention, a moment they look forward to. And that shift ensures that when you do choose to show up, you are met with a level of focus and respect that constant presence could never earn. Ascenders, people will always try to draw quick conclusions about who you are. They'll take the surface-level details and use them to write the whole story in their minds. But what they can't predict, what they can't control, is how much you can change when you decide to move on your own terms. Every moment you protect your time, every skill you sharpen in silence, every decision to be intentional about where you place your presence builds a kind of gravity they can't resist. The same people who judged you too quickly will find themselves drawn in, not because you chased them, but because you became something they couldn't ignore. Let time do its work. Let patience become your ally. Let your absence speak as loudly as your presence. And when the moment comes to show what you've built, do it so powerfully that the memory of underestimating you becomes impossible for them to forget. Until next time, keep climbing, keep building, and keep moving in ways they'll never see coming. This is Sigma Ascends, signing out.